Satnam. Satnam. Hi, my name is Ferri and welcome to my new channel. Satnam is dedicated to truth, identity. I'm going to talk a lot about documentaries and personal stories within my practice, within my life. My journey of 20 years of being an intuitive energy healer, a Kundalini practitioner, a spiritual counselor. I want to talk about this darkness that we're seeing in our culture and within ourselves and within the people that we love. And how do we clear the karmas? How do we unravel the bondage and the chains, and we break free and elevate consciousness to light? That's what this channel is dedicated. And my name is Sangeeta Kaur Ferri, but you're going to see on the bottom a lot Heather Ferri. That's the name I was born with. And in a couple videos, I'm going to explain the transitioning of names and how your name carries a vibration. And for me, I healed severe trauma from childhood, and within that sort of buried and had a rebirth into Sangeeta. So you can learn more about my work on that website. But for now, I'm going to talk about The Keepers, a documentary that was created about the story of who murdered Sister Kathy Kesnick. If you haven't watched it yet, I highly recommend it. One of the things that I was drawn to with this documentary is I teach my students. There's no coincidence with the books you read, or the music that you're drawn to, or the films that you like to watch. And for me, watching this documentary was empowering. I said to myself, finally the victims get to have a voice. Finally we get to empower victims. It was exciting for me. But it also, I had a lot of healing, which was surprising because I've been healing for a very long time and I work in the field. But I think when we hear real, honest truth, sometimes we see that mirror and it unravels another layer. There's so many layers. A lot of clients come to me depressed. I know I was depressed for many, many years, running in circles, distracted, dating the wrong people, doing the wrong jobs in life, completely lost, knew that the compass was off, didn't quite know how to get the compass back on. So when somebody sits in front of me and they're depressed, suicidal, or having panic attacks, I know that there's a part of their soul that is lost, troubled. Part of depression is this idea that the lens is here. And even if the universe is trying to give us signals and messages and information, we can't seem to see it or navigate into that direction because we're just so limited in where we're at. And so part of my journey, and I wrote a book about it, which is coming out soon, is I feel a calling and I go to different Eastern scientific healers. And each healer unravels and gives me teaching tools to discover my true authentic self, which we're born with. But then depending on your karma and the situation that your environment is, depends on how you evolve and develop. I mean, we see in this documentary these young girls who are brutally raped by their priests and the consequences of how that affects every moment of their life and the choices they make. In the beginning of episode 1, we're introduced to two powerful women. These two women come together with the intention of wanting to open up the investigation and find more information about why their beloved teacher, Sister Kathy, was murdered. They had no idea that they were going to unravel a sex abuse case. In fact, both of them were pretty naive and questioned in 1994 when somebody came out legally with some information, Jane Doe, about being raped and sexually abused by the priest. These two women were kind of like, I don't think that happened. But as they go on this investigation, they unravel so much more, which is absolutely amazing. There's a quote in episode 1 I love. The story is not about the nuns killing. The story is about the cover-up of the killing. When you watch this documentary, you can clearly see the systems of our church have failed us. And they cover this up for years and years, affecting hundreds, thousands. The cycle goes on and on when we really study what sexual abuse does and how it can be passed down through the bloodline. What's powerful about this documentary is, once again, it's not only empowering us with information and educating us, but it's healing this karmic cycle that's been going on within the churches that has actually affected our family systems. Because let's face it, okay, if we're covering up sexual abuse in the churches, we're sending off those signals that it's okay to do it in the homes, right? And so now we're basically saying we're going to get our power back. And that's what this documentary is all about. It's allowing these victims to get their power back and inspiring others. And I got to tell you, I've been on a journey. I've been healing myself for 20 years. It has not been easy. And I thought I had my voice. But after watching this documentary a few times, they have empowered me to start my own YouTube channel. So that's what you can do when you really take risks in life. When you really decide that you're going to do something from a soul level, not because it's popular, not because anyone's going to like it, but because it's the right thing to do. If you're sitting at home complaining about something in your life, go walk into the bathroom and look in the mirror. Look at you. Because it all starts with you. You create the life around you. I broke that cycle. I came from generational abuse. And when I came out in my late 30s, I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified of my mother. And I was afraid to tell my father and my brother. I had so much psychological abuse as well that I felt that maybe they would think that I really was a bad girl, that I was bad. And I was really naive. They turned on me, and they basically blamed me and didn't ask any questions. You're the problem. You're the one causing the family pain. I didn't really know what to do with that. All I knew is that I was pulling trauma out. I had PTSD at the time. I was just trying to survive. So I just basically had to protect myself and work on myself so that I could get better. And that's really what I teach my trauma clients to do, is don't depend on a family member to step up and be there for you. Find a spiritual community that can support you. Find a friend that can support you while you build yourself up. It's worth it. I mean, it's really, really hard work. Pulling out trauma from connective tissue, rewiring the brain. I really wish there was that magic pill. Because if there was that magic pill, I would have found it and I would have taken it. But unfortunately, it's just not that easy. But what I will say, having been healed, is it's amazing. It's worth the work. I don't have the victim mentality anymore. I don't attract my abusers in different relationships and people. I have loving relationships. I'm happy overall. But it took a lot of work. There's a journalist in episode 1 that I wanted to notate as a teaching tool. He talks about going through the investigation notes, and some things are not adding up. In the notes, it says that Sister Kathy's car was parked pretty close to her apartment. Okay, in a weird spot. But then months later, her body was found in a completely different area. And this journalist was reading the notes, and it didn't add up to him, and he basically said, there was something stuck in my throat. Now I have to tell you, as a Kundalini yoga practitioner, I found those words to be fascinating, because the throat is the seat of the soul. Every word you speak affects the red blood cells. So if you are speaking a lie, you are not only creating karma for yourself, but you're also affecting your immune system. You're not able to reach the potential that you can. When I learned that in my conscious communication course, it really made me have to sit back and pay attention to how I was speaking. Also, I know a lot about the throat because when I was a child, that was my abuse. My mother came into my room in the mornings and she choked me on a regular basis. So I didn't speak for years. I was really terrified and really was incapable of completing a sentence. Now, I was in show business. I was a professional performer. So I could put on shows for you, and I could put on a dance, and everything's fine, and aren't I pretty, and I'm going to do exactly what you want me to do. But I really didn't have the ability to speak my truth. I didn't even know what that meant. So you can only imagine me sitting in front of you right now, the journey that it took to get to this place. But what I love is I do that with all my clients. Whether they're from trauma or whether they're just stuck in life and they want a new career or they want to break free and develop more of themselves. So we must keep in mind that when we're working with darkness, silence feeds it. Yeah, that's a new concept. Silence feeds it. When we start speaking the truth and having conversations, we're then able to find solutions. We're then able to help understand. You know, after being healed, I don't just see my mother as the abuser. I see her as this incredible teaching tool. I have saved hundreds and hundreds of lives. Do you think I would be able to do that from a textbook? I'm able to do that because I have walked the path. And trust me, some of the best healers, you have to walk the path to understand what it feels like to have chronic pain, what it feels like to have PTSD every morning at 5 a.m., what it feels like to be so afraid to leave your house, what it feels like to have chronic pain every time you sit down because sitting in a chair is a trigger. These are experiences that I've had, and this is why I am masterful and able to help people heal. So in some senses, my mother is and was my greatest teacher. I do not excuse her behavior, but I understand our spiritual contract, and I honor it. At the end of this episode, there's a line I want to talk about. They say the cover-up itself is the cancer of Baltimore. Cancer is a powerful word. We're in a cancer epidemic right now. They used that word very wisely, and I'm going to tell you why. I really do. I believe, and I think a lot of people in the spiritual realms believe that cancer is created through lies. if somebody physically has cancer and it comes from a physical place, let's face it, we're being lied to about what's being put into our food and water. Every day, if you read news outside the box, we're finding out more chemicals that are in our food and our water. That is a lie. And that lie is affecting us every day. That is why I drink my water. And when people come to me with cancer, a lot of times there is a spiritual disease happening. They have been living a lie. Either they have been abused and not sharing it with anyone in shame, or maybe they have been living a lie, they're straight and they're really gay. Maybe they married too soon and they felt this was the right thing to do, and so they're with this person that they can't really relate to. They're in a job where it's a 9-to-5 job and it's a paycheck, but it has nothing to do with their interest. All of these are personal lies. We are emotional, spiritual beings, and when that is not healthy and vibrant, it affects us. So I'm going to finish up with Sat Nam. You'll learn more in my future episodes about breathing exercises and chants, so subscribe below, Sat Nam TV, and pass it on to your friends. And if you have any comments or questions, please leave them. I want to hear from you. I want to hear your voice. So we're going to finish up. You can either have your hands on your lap, palms up, or you can place them over your heart, and you're going to close your eyes for a moment. And today, you're just going to listen to me chant Sat Nam a few times. But after, you can shut off the computer, and you can either continue to hear the Sat Nam, or you can walk around and start singing Sat Nam, your own melody, your own version. Or you can just think about every inhale you're thinking Sat, and every exhale you're thinking Nam. This starts to help you get inside yourself. And that's the first part of becoming calmer, happier, knowing what your needs are. Sat Nam. Sat Nam. Thank you for tuning in to my first episode.